Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Banao Bharat's Trading for Living Friday live session. Quite a volatile week coming to an end. The way the last week Friday Nifty closed, we were all hoping this week is going to be one of the most eventful week. But then we know how markets can always surprise the market participants, and this week's performance on both Nifty and Bank Nifty is disappointing to say the least. In fact, we expected it to be an eventful week, but it would have become an eventful week by crossing the all-time high. That did not happen, but still this week's data points are actually kind of significant. Maybe this is the beginning of much larger fall. So for all you know, maybe we have seen the top for this year, and it is kind of disappointing that we may not actually see one more new high for Nifty. Somehow Bank Nifty has put a new all-time high on the charts for 2023, and Sensex also 2 days back has put a new high on the charts for the year 2023, but Nifty will or most likely might go with a lower high formation for this calendar year. That is what is my sense. It is too early to say anything, but this week's data points are actually disappointing. After having come so close to all-time high, it should have, at least for customary sake, it should have put a new ATH on the screen, but it has failed to do so. And the way it is closing now, around 18,700. This is today on Friday. We are making a new low, 18,690 for this week. So this data structure from Monday to Friday, today is a weekly close. Looking at this data point, I would be little skeptical now moving forward. In the coming week, again, there is not much of hopes of making any new high. Instead, I will be now looking at more lower levels where the market has functioned in last couple of weeks. Coming to today's price action, Nifty opens at around 18,808 and very quickly comes down to 18,690 in the second candle itself, and then one pullback attempt is made, but it fails. Again goes back to the day's lows level and currently trading a kind of very lackluster movement today, currently at around 18,730. On the whole, there is nothing much today except for weakness and consolidation at the lower levels. I don't know if it is consolidation for further up move, but I would say, like, this kind of consolidation, because the pullback has failed. It has moved from 18,690 up to 18,775, and after having made a pullback, it is not consolidating at the pullback highs. It is actually now come back to the day's low, and it is trading around the day's low, which gives an indication that the pullback is not sustained and we are headed for much lower levels in the coming week itself. If you see the price action for the week from Monday to Friday, 18,923 is where we start on Monday, and from there on Friday we are seeing a low of 18,690. So this week has been an inside week on a weekly chart, on a weekly candle. If you see, when you see on a 5 days basis, it came down on Monday itself. Tuesday also it was slightly down. It tried to make a pullback, and pullback sustained for one day, but yesterday it collapsed and it was extremely volatile, being a weekly expiry. And today it gaps down, goes further down, tries one small pullback, but it is not sustaining and currently trading around these levels, which is an indication that this price action at the top is not a very good sign, and probably it is started making new levels on the downside. I kept telling for last so many days, at least in this month, that markets, there is no sell levels yet. Yes, it was very clear, like buyers were little hesitant to buy. So any new high on a weekly gap ups, we have seen, like couple of Mondays it opens gap up. After the gap up, Monday and Tuesday it consolidates at the higher level. By Wednesday it starts coming down, and Thursday it just stays around that level. Again Friday it tries to make a pullback, but nothing much happens for the entire week. So whole of June we have seen such weeks wherein Mondays it gaps up, Monday and Tuesday it slightly moves little above from the gap up highs, but it doesn't sustain the up move. Again rest of the week it just consolidates or slightly comes down. But no matter what, it used to make new highs and it used to consolidate. It was not making any new levels on the downside. So week on week it was actually giving a green candle or a higher high and higher low candles. So there were absolutely no sell levels for sure, and buying also was like not a very convincing buy levels emerged during last couple of weeks, or at least for the month of June. I would say, like market, even though it looked like trending, or it looked like upward trajectory was there, but on the whole, like it was a lackluster market for entire month of June. But having said that, there was no buying levels, and at the same time there were no sell levels that got formed. But this is the first week, I would say, like there are some sell levels that are getting formed. If you go to the daily chart, you can see here, this is the daily chart. 18,955 stands. After that it is on the kind of a small downward movement. So if you see, 18,574 was the close for the month of June. I think it was May, sorry. So for the month of May it had closed at around 18,550 levels. This time it opens at around the same level, goes slightly higher. For the month of June, it is like it is in the upward movement, makes a high, and towards the end of the month it is coming down now. If this picks up momentum in the coming week, then we will close below May's close, which will be the first signs of any kind of fall that might come in the near term. So on the weekly chart, if you see, you can see here from 16,866 continuously there was upward movement, and this is one candle for this week. It is an inside candle, not a very alarming candle, but it might be the concern for some time at least to come, and this is what is making me feel like there may not be new highs anytime soon. And especially if in the coming Monday or Tuesday, if it has one negative day, if it starts off on the negative note, and if it even tries to do a pullback from the negative note, then, and if that pullback fails, then we are headed definitely much lower levels. From here on, I would say, like markets might take 2 steps backward, 1 step forward, unlike all of these weeks where like the movement was 2 steps forward and 1 step behind. But from moving forward, it might be the case of 2 steps backward and 1 step forward. We all have to be prepared for that. On the intraday chart, definitely, like we are seeing new lower levels for entire this week. We have seen on June 19th we saw the lower level of 18,789. On Tuesday we saw a low of 18,712. Wednesday and Thursday it had consolidated on the pullback side, but again today it has broken that level. Of course it is not closing below 18,712 as of now. It's around 3 o'clock now. We are closer to Tuesday's low. On a Friday morning it has broken Tuesday's low and it is consolidating towards the low, which is an indication like couple of lows it is already taking over. It is a very clear indication that probably for the coming week we will be seeing more downside. If one more week we see downside, and from there on pulling back with vigor or with lot of force is little difficult until unless it goes much further down and makes new short term levels on the downside. As of now, there is no short term levels on the downside except for 16,866, which happens to be March low. March we saw the lows of 16,866. That still stands until new higher low gets formed somewhere around 18,000 levels. Where it might form the level we don't know, but only after it is made we can say. But for now, until a new short term level comes, buying also is very dicey, because buying might come only towards 18,900 levels, which means Nifty should have put new all time high in this week. 5 days gone and almost 200 points below all time highs, almost 150 to 200 points below the Friday's highs, which is not a very comforting data points. So there is not much to talk of even in the Bank Nifty for this week. Let us first see today's movement. Opens at around 43,563, goes up to 43,850, currently trading at 43,720. Kind of flat day after yesterday's big volatility. Yesterday we all saw how market just butchered all the sides. It butchered even the call writers as well as call or put buyers. Option buyers were punished, option sellers were punished. Very uneven market and very unplayable market. Sometimes it reminds me of Wasim Akram's bowling, wherein sometimes, or some of the West Indies bowlers in the early 80s and 90s, how their balls were totally unplayable. It could be Courtney Walsh or Malcolm Marshall. These were some of the players who were deadly bowlers during the 80s and early 90s, who gave shivers to even some of the good batsmen. So it was one of such days where no matter how good the options player you are, whether you are a buyer or a seller, it was just unplayable. After that we have not seen in the history of world cricket that kind of fast bowlers, lethal bowlers. Yes, here and there few bowlers came like Brett Lee and others, but none of them were really matching the ferocity of the West Indies bowlers during the 80s and early 90s. This reminded me of that kind of cricket. Yesterday's price action was so severe, so deadly actually. After such a deadly day, today we are kind of seeing somewhat not so much of a deadly day. It is a normal market. Yes, ups and downs are there, but playable ups and downs. Of course, there was not much levels for us. Today, opening candle high was a kind of a buy, but it didn't move much. 739 was the buy. It went up to 850, now fallen back to 650 levels. So not much trades emerging even in Bank Nifty. On the weekly chart, when we see June 19th was Monday, right? So June 19th we saw the highs of 44,124. From there on we came to the lows of 43,450. 43,450 happened to be the support and it is held on. So Nifty has broken Tuesday's support, and when it comes to Bank Nifty is still holding on to the Tuesday's support of 43,450 levels. So that is one small positive. But if you see on a weekly chart, from the highs of 44,545 to the lows of 43,450, we are almost 1000 points away from the new all-time high that has been put on the charts. But what you have to also notice is December high was 44,248. From 248, after it has cut, it didn't go much higher. It is actually went up by 200-300 points but came down by 1000 points. It indicates the breakout at all-time high has actually failed. So two important takeaways. One, breakout at Bank Nifty's all-time high breakout has failed and Nifty has not even broken out or given a new all-time high. Sensex has touched all-time high and it might start going down in the coming week. We don't know. On the whole, from here on, my bias would be more on the downside and not on the upside. More and more I can become aggressive and play higher quantities on the down chart and play lesser quantity whenever there is a buy signal. So that is what is my view on today's price action, on this week's price action, especially comparing this week's price action to the last week's price action. Definitely this is a indication of some more weakness to follow through. So having said that, have a simple weekend, enjoy your weekend. Let us start reading the charts once again from Monday. There is nothing much to read except that, like, we have to take home the point that maybe the first signs of weakness is visible in the markets. Bank Nifty clearly breaks out but does not sustain and falls 1000 points is one important indication. Secondly, Nifty, in spite of coming so close to the all-time high, it has failed for the entire week to once again see those highs and makes a new low, which is not a good sign. Well, these are the two important takeaways for this week. Let us see how the next week goes. Maybe market, as you know, it might surprise us once again on the upside. We don't know, anything can happen in the market. Be prepared. Be prepared. Play your trades as and how it comes, but on the shorter side, play larger quantities. On the long side, play little lesser quantity. If it sustains, then we can anytime in the coming days we can increase the quantity even on the long side. The beauty of derivatives trader is you don't have to be a only long only player or a short only player. You can be both. You can keep shifting as per your system. Well, let us once again reconvene on Monday morning and see how the market goes. Until then, have a nice weekend. If you are liking the content on Banao Bharat's channel, do subscribe to the channel and share the channel with fellow traders. And come back on Monday morning for one more live session observation. Until then, Om Swasti.